Good evening again. We have arrived to the second part of our parallel event at the NGO CSW66 virtual forum. In the second part of our event, we are presenting our programs dedicated to the UN Decade of Healthy Aging. We have been working for 55 plus women within the frameworks of our Women's Career for a Lifetime program since 2009. We would like to contribute to the goals of the Decade of Healthy Aging in several fields, which are participation in the labor market and lifelong learning, role of the media, and age-friendly environment, including climate change and ageism. As local representative and part of the INPEA network, I thank the president who will come to talk about their worldwide activities in prevention of elder abuse and pursuit of a new convention on the human rights of older persons. We are pleased that we will have with us the initiator of the COST action. COST is a European action on cooperation in science and technology. And the title of our action is Smart, Healthy, Age-Friendly Environments, which received recognition in the United Nations and as best practice. We are also a proud member of this alliance. We always include the presentation of our media expert because we cannot neglect the huge influence of the media. Our last presentation will give an insight into our approach regarding 55 plus women and digitalization. We are happy to share some best practices from Hungary with you, helping this age group to keep up with the fast-moving area. I would like to mention some key facts which I have taken from the Decade of Healthy Aging baseline report. Globally, in 2020, 2/3 of older people live in middle-income countries. By 2030, 1 in 6 people will be 60 years of age or older. By 2050, this proportion will have increased to 1 in 5 people. Older people are in the center of this new action plan on aging and health, called the United Nations Decade of Healthy Aging from 2021 to 2030. The decade focuses on what can be done for people in the second half of their lives. It addresses 4 areas for action. We are going to contribute to the following first action area of the plan: change how we think, feel, and act towards age and aging. I would like to tell about the background of this Hungarian initiative, Women's Career for a Lifetime, which was carried out, we have been carrying out with UN and EU cooperation. Demographic aging is a universal problem, and the situation in Hungary is also serious. Since the life expectancy of women outstrips that of men, we must encourage women to continue living active and healthy lives. Older women in decision-making is a very important issue. Compared to their number and their potential, older women's participation in economic and social decision-making is not significant. The aim of our Women's Career for a Lifetime program is to give older women the chance to stay in the workforce and share their experience, to participate in lifelong learning, keep playing an active role in society, including volunteer work, and to prepare consciously for a longer, healthier, and more meaningful life. How to do this? We hope that to do this by calling special attention to the need of supporting the participation of women over 55 in the labor market, while taking into account their role in the family. Popularly called the sandwich generation, these women must continue to care for their children, their parents, and grandchildren. We have to involve those women over 55 who are willing and able to continue their contribution to their respective fields of knowledge and competence. Their recognition, appreciation, proper enumeration, and inclusion in economic and social development must be of top priority. We recognize the importance of good media relations. We keep the media informed, especially our selective contacts, delivering them first-hand news that could indirectly affect domestic politics and the economy in the fields of aging, employment, sustainability, cooperation of generations, and the plight of older women. Older women are facing similar challenges all over the world, therefore networking is so important. That if we hope to strengthen the general understanding, approach, acceptance, and inclusion between participants of the NGO CSW66 events, who will subsequently popularize and make use of the new information in their respective countries and closer communities through formal and informal channels. Thank you very much in advance. I would like to mention some programs which aim to activate and motivate. It is of vital importance that older women recognize that they have an indispensable role in the labor market, in society as a whole, and the lives of their families. But the feeling of usefulness calls for lifelong learning, self-improvement, and motivation. We encourage women above 55 to do their share in creating the desired positive image by continued training, keeping themselves up to date, and appearing in active roles. It is a good outcome of the pandemic that many older people improve their IT skills. I am pleased to report you about some of our accomplishments. We have organized more than 12 international conferences and local events with over 3,000 participants. 5 generations work together in our organization and our events. Hungarian and international expert, trainer, and speaker database. We have created over 10 presentations at UN conferences, about 10 in European events, has to be mentioned. We have founded several acknowledgements, for example, Women's Career for a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2013, when we were 10 years old. Then the Best Workplace for Women Award, founded in 2007. And in our think tank, we have videos, presentations, research, surveys. We have a large internet networking and presence in the media. Our professional work network is also important. I would like to mention, first of all, because we are in the United Nations, our contacts with ILO, WHO, FAO, UNEC, and UNESCO. In the European Union, we work with the European Parliament, Committee on Women's Rights and Gender Equality, with HWN from Europe, Older Women's Network Europe, NGO Committee on Geneva, and other European and US NGOs, including, first of all, INPEA and the ARP. In Hungary, we work with Parliament, ministries, local governments, Hungarian Academy of Sciences, Hungarian Central Statistic Office, Demographic Research Institute, Gerontology Science Coordination Center of the Faculty of Health of University of Debrecen, the Szemmelweis University, the Széchenyi István University, the Hungarian Scientific Association of Rural Health, Crime Prevention Department of the Hungarian National Police, the Hungarian Red Cross, chambers of commerce and industry, and embassies accredited to Budapest, etc. In the program of part 2, I would like to give the floor now to our distinguished people who are Dr. Susan Summers, President of INPEA, Mrs. Katalin Hajós, media expert, Mrs. Villeke van Staduinen, CEO of Academy and Vice Chair of the Cost Action Network Age Friendly, Mrs. Modlani Ildikó Görgényi, Adult Learning Expert Researcher, who will speak Hungarian, but you will see the slides in the English language. And I will come back to you with the closing remarks. Goodbye.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Summers, and I'm here from the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse. I'm pleased to be here at CSW66 Forum, this parallel event that's been organized by the Association for Women's Career Development in Hungary and our national representative to Hungary, Andrea Ferenczi. Thank you, Andrea, for inviting me again this year. I'd like to talk to you a bit about elder abuse, give you some key facts and some information, an overview first. The World Health Organization has done a study that shows that 1 in 6 people 60 years and older have experienced some form of abuse in a community setting during the last year that they did the report. The rates of elder abuse are high in institutions such as nursing homes and long-term care facilities, with 2 in 3 staff reporting that they have committed abuse in the past year. And rates of elder abuse have increased during the COVID-19 pandemic, which we will talk about in a moment. And elder abuse can lead to serious physical injuries and long-term psychological consequences, and also at times death. Elder abuse is predicted to increase as many countries are experiencing rapidly aging populations, and the total global population of people aged 60 years and older will double from 900 million in 2015 to about 2 billion 2050. How do gender and age intersect in this issue of elder abuse, violence, and neglect? Well, gender roles can change with age. Older persons often fulfill roles that are not typical of their gender, as men caring for grandchildren and older women heading households. Gender-based discrimination, particularly in later life, can be hidden by a lack of sex and age disaggregated data. This is a major constraint to developing gender-responsive policies and programs. And gender-based discrimination can accumulate over a person's lifetime and be exacerbated in older life. Older women can face double discrimination, based both on their age and gender. Older men can experience challenges to masculinity that can leave them feeling isolated. And older women and men and older persons of other gender are at risk of gender-based violence because it's an abuse of power, which continues no matter what age you are. Age is no protection. Understanding changing gender identities and power relationships throughout life is crucial to understanding the experience of aging. And this information comes from the Gender Equality Training Toolkit of Help Age International 2020, which some of you might be interested in reviewing. So the effect of COVID pandemic on violence, abuse, and neglect of older women, what was it? The COVID-19 crisis has certainly exacerbated violence against women, including against older women. And to ensure that no woman is left behind, UN Women's COVID-19 and Violence Against Women Survey produced the first set of reliable cross-country and nationally representative data on women aged 50 or older, reaching beyond the 15 to 49 age range on which such statistics usually focused. Results show that 34% of women aged 60 and over report having experienced violence or knowing someone who has since the beginning of the pandemic. Further, 63% of women 60 years and older think that the domestic violence in the hands of their partners has increased since the pandemic, while 55% think that sexual harassment has worsened during this period. This highlights the need for timely disaggregated data for all groups of women, including older groups. And the source of this is from just a freshly released advocacy brief, UN Advocacy Brief on Older Women 2020. I believe it was just released yesterday. And hopefully it'll be a great source of information to many of us. But having looked at the landscape of elder abuse, age discrimination, and the effect of the pandemic, which was deadly, quite frankly, to mostly older women, 80% of the women over 80, 80% of the women who died were over 80, I believe, is the effect that we have no international binding instruments to protect the human rights of older persons. The International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, INPEA, was founded by Rosalie Wolfe and some colleagues at an international conference in Australia in 1997 when they realized that elder abuse research and practice and academic concerns were lacking. And so INPEA was developed for an interdisciplinary academic setting that focused on scholarship and translational research. It was instrumental in collaborating with the World Health Organization. We developed the Toronto Declaration in 2002 and the Missing Voices Study and Report, which was co-authored by INPEA and WHO, and some other studies and publications. We expanded our international scope from 2001 to 2010 by developing a presence as a non-governmental organization, NGO, with special consultative status at the United Nations. And because it's the only NGO with this status that has a specific focus on elder abuse, it has effectively worked to bring this issue to the fore, using UN commissions and special working groups. It takes the lead in developing specific statements for other NGOs to sign on to for the CSW, the CSOCD, the Open-Ended Working Group, and other world government meetings, and plans and presents interventions at these forums. To do so requires understanding of the highly technical language and the processes of the UN, something for which it was developed expertise and leadership. INPEA intends to collaborate with other NGOs, with our consultative status, to bring awareness to elder abuse as a human rights issue on the world stage. One of the issues that we covered was the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. We launched WEAD in 2006 and developed the toolkit and some other resources to raise world awareness on adult abuse. We've also actively participated in the Open-Ended Working Group on Aging for the purpose of strengthening the human rights of older persons. And we've been active in that for a dozen years now. We do coalition building and participation through the international aging NGO community. We engage in building and participation, and we've developed innovative membership structure with regional representatives in countries around the world, with special emphasis on developing countries. We follow the dictates of levels of participation from local, national, and international levels, as suggested by the UNECE guidelines. The UNECE Meaningful Participation of Older Persons in Civil Society and Policymaking is a stakeholder engagement and participation process that was designed and has led us with some emphasis on the work that we've done. You can review that guidance note at the link that I have there. It sets forth a continuum of participation, which INPEA has been following since its inception. As regards to contribution, we have voluntary other forms of input, predetermined programs and projects. So we seek information, and that shareholders are informed about their rights and responsibilities and their options. They're given the opportunity to interact and provide feedback, and may express suggestions and concerns. However, the analysis and decisions are usually made by outsiders, and stakeholders have no assurance that their input will be used. So we need cooperation and consensus building to negotiate positions and help determine priorities. But the process is still directed by outsiders. Decision-making, stakeholders have a role in making decisions on policy, project designs, and implementation. Policy stakeholders work together as equals towards mutual goals, and the empowerment created transfers the control over the decision-making and the resources to stakeholders themselves. This is our ultimate goal when we are engaging with other NGOs and CSOs. In some of the examples of the international and regional networks and civil society organizations that focus on aging that we do intersect with are Age Platform Europe, Help Age International, the IFA, National Longevity Centers, both the global and a number of national ones, Canada and Argentina in particular. The International Social Security Association in the United States also is a great help to us and a collaborator when we're trying to find Social Security benefits for refugees or elderly, older persons who have been in the United States without proper documentation or birth certificates, maybe 60 or 70 years. So relationships with them. And of course, the 3 NGO committees on aging, New York, Geneva, and Vienna, Stakeholder Group on Aging, the SGA, that we deal with the input into the Sustainable Development Goals, and the High Level Political Forum, and the Stakeholder Group on Aging Africa, which has its content on both sustainable development, the plan, the 2030 plan, and also the human rights of older persons. So I'd like to close with a message of solidarity with the Association Women's Career Development in Hungary and all older persons, and especially older women, wherever we may find them, whether it's in peace or in conflict. We haven't forgotten. So thank you for your kind attention.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to speak about the elderly, the COVID, and the media. Did the media image of the elderly change during the pandemic? How has the relationship between the elderly and the media developed? There has been a great deal of research on this subject around the world. The starting point was the same everywhere. Ageism is a global phenomenon, and the media often portrays the elderly in stereotypes. This approach did not change during the pandemic. Some already treat the 50-plus age group as elderly, and those over 65 are viewed as vulnerable, in need of support, and to be guarded and helped. Older people are continuously underrepresented in media, mainly in television and print, and have minor or subordinate roles in major TV shows and movies. This underrepresentation is common worldwide, even in Asian countries, where seniors are treated with more respect than in the Western cultures. During COVID, the distinctive aspects have disappeared even more. Almost everyone became a potential victim, or with a careful wording, just a cost for the society. Ageism, this negative phenomenon that previously existed, has intensified. Sentences have been published about blaming the elderly. They are responsible for the closures, they are overprotected by the measures, by the working group loses their jobs. Children often shown by the media as potential source of danger to the elderly. Very few examples have appeared in the media that portray the elderly in a positive way and present their professional achievements during their lives, instead highlighting their vulnerability. There is little talk of the importance of mental health, the role of family and friendships in maintaining health. However, it was often said that the elderly may have been lonely during the quarantine. Although family relationships have risen in importance during the pandemic, there have been just a few positive examples in the media. On the other hand, sometimes media reflects on differences among elderly. Those who have previously needed help in their daily lives due to the pandemic needed even more support. So state and municipal measures were prominent in the media. A group of older people have taken on new roles, mainly those in younger age groups. Some became the most important breadwinners in the family,
when their children have lost their jobs. The only secure income for the family was a retirement pension. The media generally portrayed this as a generational collaboration and as a positive example. Some cases also were shown when grandparents helped the grandchildren to study at home, so they also appeared in a positive role. The media consumption habits of the elderly have changed, and many who earlier were only consumers of classic media have become active media users. The media has always been the most important source of news for them so far, but this has intensified as their social contacts have thinned. The time spent watching television continued to increase. So far, it has been over 4 hours a day in Hungary. Perhaps the only positive consequence of COVID is the development of digital literacy of the elderly. The access to digital devices, to computers and smartphones is close to the family average. After all, this has become the main means of communication within the family. Many seniors are already using social media at a fairly high skill level, and as society ages, this will increasingly be the case for seniors who previously worked with computers. The pandemic radically transformed our lives, changed our consumer and lifestyle habits, and significantly affected the advertising market. 76% of internet users in the 60s and 68% of people over the age of 70 use internet with the same or more intensity than they do on television. The pandemic has forced many to acquire digital skills, spend more time online for communication or leisure purposes. More than half of the elderly Hungarian population already uses the internet, which is a significant development, although this is still slightly below the European average. Internet usage is also influenced by the type of settlement and social status. There are huge differences among urban or rural areas and level of income. The media has been playing a key role in communicating information related to the pandemic. It has major responsibility in how it interprets official data about the epidemic and what is its approach to vaccinations and how the elderly is portrayed in a health crisis situation. Assistance should be given to all ages, but especially to the elderly, and to help them understand official information that is often contradictory and confusing. Elderly people who started to network online, mainly during the epidemic, may not only have difficulty acquiring technical knowledge, but are unaware of the dangers of the new communication space. Recognizing this responsibility in Hungary, the National Media and Info Communications Authority has launched a program for the elderly people titled Up to the Net. Aim of the campaign is to improve the digital skills of the elderly. Its central part is a website that serves as a knowledge base that is understandable and easy for senior internet users to follow. The primary aim of the initiative is to equip the most disadvantaged target groups in the digital field with the right information and knowledge to move confidently in the digital world. Started in May 2021, it was especially needed at a time when, due to forced isolation, the internet was one of the most important windows to the outside world, helping against loneliness. The website and Facebook page is continuously updated with fresh information, so the digital advances could become so embedded in our daily lives that they still will stay with us even after the epidemic is over. COVID has shown that there is no other option for the elderly than to make friends through technical means and to suggest to the media an image that breaks the appearance of vulnerability. To do this, we also need to be open and interested, and prove that there is no old age when basic skills cannot be acquired. The role of social media is increasingly important in shaping the image of the elderly. This is the only opportunity where we can decide for ourselves what and how we show about lives, activities, and relationships, how we want ourselves to be seen. If we learn to use social media well, we can shape what society thinks about the elderly, both individually and as a large and important social group. We need an opinion-forming role so we can have a say in discussing important social issues and influence decisions. There are many good examples in the media world, but I picked one to show as a good example. The British NGO Aging Better has created a collection of images that can be used freely without copyright or other fees by the media, where the elderly are shown in a positive situation. Thank you for your interest, and please get in touch with me in the future. Thank you.
Good evening from Europe. My name is Willeke van Staalduinen, and I'm very happy to present to you the Smart, Healthy, Age-Friendly Environments concept that was launched in 2017. I'm the CEO of Academy, the small business based in Gouda in the Netherlands, on which we focus on the capacity building of stakeholders in the implementation of smart, healthy, age-friendly environments. I'm very grateful to Andrea Ferenczi to enable this conference workshop, and that she's chairing, and I'm very happy to be able to be part of it. Women are a very important part of the smart, healthy, age-friendly environments development, as women are very involved in caring and also in developing solutions to provide best quality of life and participation in society for people with disabilities or people that have consequences of the older age. So I'm very happy to be here. As said, I will present the cost action on international interdisciplinary network on smart, healthy, age-friendly environments that was founded in 2020. But let me first start with the beginning. In 2017, my dear friend Karina Dantas and I were considering why we develop so many digital solutions for people aging at home, and why don't we look at the technical or physical environments where people live in, because that needs to be aligned so that people indeed can age in place or have a good quality of life. This is also for the health and care sector, that it also needs to be aligned with the digital solutions and the built environment. So that was the idea behind the launch of the smart, healthy, age-friendly environments in Europe. In 2018, we were acknowledged by the European Commission as a thematic network. And the thematic networks were chosen every year so that with the ambition to draw attention from policymakers and organizations and citizens towards the several developments in Europe. And for the Smart, Healthy, Age-Friendly Environments thematic network, or SHAFE network, we wanted to draw the attention for a better alignment between health, social care, built environments, and ICT, both in policy and funding. In 2018, we gathered the support from 160 and 170 organizations as partners, and we jointly created a joint statement and a framing paper and published it in December 2018 and presented it to the Commission. After that, our thematic network evolved into a stakeholders network, which is currently working to achieve better cooperation and implementation. These are the organizations that were involved in supporting the joint statement and the framing paper. And the joint statement was about that we should develop a shared vision in Europe about the smart, healthy, age-friendly environments, and also think of how to involve the cooperation and find funding for implementation. Also, we address citizens to also pick up an active life and also do perform preventive measures to have their quality of life themselves improved. As we said, the aim of the smart, healthy, age-friendly environments is the better alignment so that we have a shared responsibility on a common good. And responding to these challenges of the ICT building industry and urban planning and health and social care is what we need to align. So what we see is missing is the cooperation and implementation, and that is what we focus on. And from this idea, we also applied for cost action so that we could better bring together all the results that are going on in the smart, healthy, age-friendly environments in Europe and in the world. So that this proposal was approved in 2020. And Karina Dantas is the chair, and I myself, I'm the vice chair and the grant holder of this action. COST stands for the European Cooperation of Science and Technology, and aims to enable the funding for networking opportunities like meetings or short scientific missions or virtual mobility research in very short, so that researchers all over the world can come together and deploy the current research, what is going on, and make it better for the future. In our cost action, Net for Age Friendly, we have the main goal to foster awareness and to support the creation and implementation of smart, healthy indoor and outdoor environments for present and future generations. We focus on the building of ecosystems in every country that is aligned with the cost action, so that in the ecosystems containing of citizens, public authorities or standard organizations, businesses and caregivers, and academics and scientists, that they work together to come over the pillarization and also to align the ICT and the building sector and the health and social care, so that we can improve the lives of ourselves and of course of our fellow citizens. The action at the moment consists of members from 46 countries. We have 83 management committee members, and the full network consists of 320 researchers. Our work is organized in 5 working groups. The first working group 1 is focusing on the user-friendly design of the ICT and buildings and social and healthcare, so that it fits the needs, really fits the needs of the people involved. The working group 2 is concentrating on the organization and digitalization of integrated health and to provide integrated health and well-being pathways. The third is focusing on the digital solutions and the large upscale of smart, healthy, age-friendly environment solutions. And the fourth working group is focusing on the generating of impact and sustainability by looking for alignment with politicians and funding networks, etc. The fifth working group is where all the efforts of the other working groups comes together, and that is a reference framework that should be delivered at the end of the 4 years project, and will involve the guidelines, current state of research, standards, and all these other opportunities that are needed to bring the cost action and the Net for Age Friendly and SHAFE concept further. Our cost action is also acknowledged by the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. Last year, we submitted our cost action as a good practice, and it was acknowledged by the UN, and this is a very support for us for the acknowledgement and visibility of our action. And it also said that this good practice brings an inspiring and fruitful new way of cooperation that fosters knowledge and promotes grassroots implementation at a broader scale, combining top-down and bottom-up perspective. So they acknowledge the holistic approach that promotes the alignment of policies and strategies, and that is a unique roadmap for the implementation in and across Europe. Also, our chair, Katalin Hajós, was invited to present the CET network during the ministerial conference in February in France, so that she also presented so that the CET network and its implication for participation in and quality of life of all the adults is also acknowledged. This is in short the presentation about the cost action net for age-friendly. If you have any inquiries or want to learn more or stay in touch, this is my email address, and I would like to thank you very much for listening to me.
Tisztelt Hölgyeim és Uraim, szeretném bemutatni, hogy az 50 pluszos nők hogyan tartottak lépést a digitalizáció világában, magyarként, jó gyakorlatként. A digitalizáció, a technológiai forradalma különösen a nők számára igen fontos. Ma már az emberi intelligencia helyét lassan átveszi a mesterséges intelligencia, és a Magyar Női Karrierfejlesztési Szövetség éppen ezért kutatással végzett felmérést több esetben, amelyben a digitalizáció is szerepelt. A digitalizáció igen előnyös az 50 pluszos nők számára, azért is, mert új munkahelyeket teremt, a nők vállalkozásokat fejleszthetik, új készségeket mozdít elő, folyamatos oktatást igényel, növeli a nők versenyképességét, támogatja a karrierjüket, és a Covid alatt is segítette a gazdaság, a társadalom és a családok működését. A 50 pluszos nők digitális eszközök használatában nagyon sokat fejlődtek az utóbbi időben. Ezt mutatja azt is, hogy könnyen tudják használni az applikációkat, akár biciklihez, rollerhez, különböző típusú gépekhez, asztali, laptop vagy tab, de még a háztartásban is, akár a sütés, főzés esetére is. A digitális jólét programot magyar sajátosságként mutatnám be néhány fő jellemzőjében. A digitális jólét programnak a fő célkitűzése az volt, hogy fejlessze a kompetenciákat, különösen a nőkét is, segítse a vállalkozások körében is alkalmazni ezt, és a pandémia alatt is segítsen. A nők felkészülnek ezekre a tevékenységekre és hasznos praktikákra, és éppen ezért olyan applikációk is készülnek, amelyek a zaklatásokkal szembeni módszereket mutatják be, vagy javaslatok készülnek a nők számára, hogy a pénzügyeik távoli elektronikus intézését hogyan tudják megejteni, és ezt próbálják segíteni egy digitális újsággal, a digitális krónikával is. A nők, az 50 pluszos nők sokkal nyitottabbá tehetők a digitális eszközök megismerésére. Teljesen új lehetőségek nyílnak meg az életük szervezésében. Biztonságérzetük is növelhető a digitális kapcsolattartással, de azt nagyon fontos kiemelni, hogy az eszköz nem válthatja ki a személyes kapcsolatokat. Ugyanakkor mégis segítik a gyermekek, unokák, idősebbeknek az életét és a kapcsolat sűrűsítését. Néhány magyar programot szeretnék bemutatni, amit az idősebb nők is szívesen használnak. A Segítő Kezek infokommunikációs modellprogramját, ami egy kormányprogram keretében készült el. A Telenornak készült ilyen idősek biztonságát szolgáló tevékenysége, az SOS biztonság, ami egy gombnyomásra előhozható, és a segítségnyújtási központok is így elérhetőek. A Nemzeti Hírközlési Média Hatóság is csinált ilyen programot, hogy netre fel, és ezzel a linkkel segíti, hogy gyorsan tudjanak a neten eligazodni. További kezdeményezések is találhatók, például a NetNagyi klub létrehozása, ami hát főleg az idősebb nőknek szól, de segítenek abban is, hogy a tudatos mobil vásárlás hogyan történjen. A járvány az 50 pluszosok körében felgyorsította a digitalizációs ismeretek bővítését, de sok esetben az elsajátítását is. A Magyar Női Karrierfejlesztési Szövetség a V4 országokban végzett kutatásai szerint most már második éve több érdekes adatot tapasztal. Még 2019-ben a nők 10%-a dolgozott home office-ban, addig már 21-ben 36%. A nők 18%-a értékelte úgy, hogy a digitális tudás iránti igény az tovább erősödött. A nők 16%-a a pandémiás időszakban a home office mellett ellátta a családot és tanította a gyerekeket, és ez is segített számukra. A válaszadók 11%-a az online világban fel kellett zárkóznia a pandémia hatására, és nagyon sokat kellett tanulnia. És a válaszadók 11%-a nagyon jónak tartotta, hogy a tévében is informatikai oktatást végeztek. A Nemzeti Médiahatóság is végzett kutatást és felmérést. A megkérdezettek szerint a nagymamák 82%-a, a nagypapák 78%-a rendelkezik mobiltelefonnal, és az idős nők mindössze 12%-a képes egyedül elboldogulni egy okos telefonnal. A további jó gyakorlatot szeretnék Magyarországról bemutatni. Az Odysseus Akadémia digitális kompetencia képzése, ami az 50 pluszos nőknek is nagyon jó, és ennek a célja, hogy hozzásegítse az időskorú nőket a digitális világban való boldoguláshoz. 6 modulja van, és ez a 6 modul segíti lépésről lépésre a felkészülést. A 50 pluszos nőknek is biztonságos internethasználat segítése nagyon fontos. A tudatos internetet használatot segítő programmal segítik ezt. A felhasználók online biztonságát biztosítja egy nemzeti infokommunikációs szolgáltató által biztosított program, és gyakorlatilag a Nemzeti Kibervédelmi Intézet is ebben segíti a magyar nőket is. Magyarországon a digitalizációra stratégia készült, ami 2021-től 30-ig tart, mert ma már a GDP 21%-át adja a digitalizáció, tehát ez egy fontos, és ez a stratégia az Európai Unió készségfejlesztési menetrendjének elveit is tartalmazza. Tehát ennek célja, hogy a digitális kompetencia folyamatosan fejlesztésre kerüljön, a felnőtt képzés keretében a nők és az idősek képzése is nagyon fontos. Tömeges lakossági digitális kompetencia fejlesztő programok indítása, az informatikusok és a mérnökök számára mennyiség és minőség növelése, a nők számának a növelése a digitalizációs munkakörökben, a digitális kompetencia fejlesztéséhez szükséges struktúraváltás támogatása az oktatásban, az oktatáshoz, képzéshez és az egész életen át tartó tanuláshoz való hozzáférés, és a válságokra való reagálás, például a járvány során levont tanulságok alapján. Az Informatika és a Távközlési Elektronikai Vállalkozások Szövetsége Magyarországon segíti ezt a változást, hogy digitális gazdaság kitörési lehetőségeit támogatja, és digitális transformációs folyamatok, a vállalkozások működését átalakítja. A gazdaság szerkezete és modellje is megváltozik, a hagyományos megoldások nem tudnak konzerválódni, és a Magyarország tagja a digitális európai programnak, amelyben ez a szervezet képviseli Magyarországot, és természetesen ezzel együtt az idős nőket és az 50 pluszos nőket. Köszönöm a figyelmet.
Hello, everybody. We came to the end of this event, the part 2, and I would like to emphasize in our closing remarks that in our organization, we know that we must do our utmost to enhance the lives of women over 55, not only with respect to employment, but other fields as well, such as lifelong learning, knowledge transfer, health, life in rural environments, art, culture, business and social services, and the media. It is our aim to draw the attention of decision makers, stakeholders, and various social groups to aspects of active aging and its social benefits. And I would like to say goodbye to you with this beautiful picture which we took when we celebrated our friend who was 90 plus that time. And I would like to share with you another memorable picture. This was taken at our event in 2018 at CSW62. That was the last personal meeting for us in New York in the United Nations. And I hope that many of our dear friends recognize themselves on this picture, and we hope to see you again and others, in the United Nations and the CSW NGO committee next year in 2023. Goodbye. Thank you very much for your attention.